So I started, my daughter's 6 and she's as girly as it gets. So it's not the high school football son, but I actually started doing that. Like, I'm trying to challenge her to love the physical side of this, but I actually started it because she was complaining too much. And so, so I did this, kind of like a choose hard moment for her.
Oh, good.
It was like, all right, go grab your shoes, walking shoes, grab a jacket. She's like, what? I'm like, we're going on a walk.
Yeah.
Why? It's like, because you're complaining a lot. So we're going to go be physical. We're going to go walk the trails.
Do something hard.
Yeah. How far are we going to go? We're going to go really far. Well, when are we going to stop? I'm like, we're going to wait till you get tired.
Yeah.
And then we're going to keep going a little bit longer. And she just looked at me like,
I don't get it.
You're crazy, Dad. Yeah. This doesn't make sense. And honestly, as a parent, like, it taught me patience too. Cause I think we got like 20 yards and she's like, Dad, my leg's already tired. And I'm like, oh gosh, this is going to be a long walk. And so we started doing these trails, and it's funny because, like, I bring my backpack, put a water bottle in there, and she picked a snack.
I say snacks.
Yep. And so she had her little, like, chewy bar in there or whatever it was. It wasn't a chewy bar. I can't remember what the brand is. But we're walking back, and she's like, I think I really need that snack now, Dad. And I'm like, you want the snack? Yeah. You're not going to have the snack. She's like, why did you put it in your backpack? I was like, because I wanted you to know it's there, but that you don't need it. Mm-hmm. And she literally got so mad. She, like, jogged like 5 feet in front of me and walked like, oh, you know,
I'll show him.
Yeah, I'm not gonna walk with you anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm just like smiling, like whatever. But it was good because I was like, hey, next weekend we're gonna do the same thing. We're just gonna go a little bit further. Mm-hmm. So the next weekend we did the same thing, went a little bit further. She still complained, but it was like, I'm like, okay, we're gonna do this every time. And like this last weekend, I was like, hey, we're leaving soon, and it looks like it's gonna rain, so we might want to go soon. She's like, well, I want to play longer. I'm like, all right, if it rains, we're still going. Yeah. And it like started raining a little bit when we were on our way back. But it's just, I think, dude, it's so important. Mm-hmm. You know, and I know we're going to talk about this today.
Sure.
Which is actually a good segue, the evolution of our fitness journey. And I think like how fitness needs, they're going to change and evolve with you, you know, as life does. Yep. Different things are important in your life as you get older and everything. What your body's capable of, what it can recover from, it's all different. And this is another important context too, is like training age is a different thing than actual age too, because like even as a 32-year-old, about to be 33 this year, I know guys who are older than me that don't have as much wear and tear because I've been training for so long. You know, it's been 14 years straight of maybe taking a week off because I've just been engulfed in it ever since. So there's like some parts of me, my body's like 50, you know, and it's like, you gotta deal with it. But anyway, things change. I think it would be cool to start with really maybe just like what fitness means to you now. You know, we can both kind of define that, like what its value holds, what it's taught us, what it means to us, whatever it may be. And then we can kind of get into I think it would be cool to have this timeline of like all the different things we've done and how it's changed over the years. And, that's, you know, since your mugshot days, which are your license, but you sent me that and I was like, bro, you look like
I know
a pit bull, like just a fighter. Like this looks like a mugshot.
Which I was just like a fat kid back then. So what's interesting, like that's a great question. So I mentioned to you earlier today when I got here that I've been going through this whole like longevity space, if you will, and I'm careful to even use that word, knowing sometimes people think. And maybe you've seen this when you coach people. Some people think longevity and like biohacking are like in tandem. And I could see where maybe they come close and some would say they cross. So when I say longevity, I'm not saying as like I'm trying to trick my body into living longer. I'm just looking at things on a much longer like time horizon, if you will. It's like, hey, are the things I'm doing right now going to benefit 80-year-old Cody, if you will? So, which is interesting because even in the last few years, I've gone through some things that fitness-wise with marathons and stuff like that does not benefit my body long-term, right? Yeah. Maybe up to a certain point it benefited my cardiovascular health, but then as in most things I've done in my life, it gets to where it's, I took that a little too far. So what fitness means to me right now can be summed up in one statement. I never want to be limited physically in life. So when people come to our gym, what we actually say is like, I'll look at you and Mrs. Jones, I would love it if, because you've come here, that you will never be limited physically in life. So that to me covers a vast array of fronts. I also think of it through the lens of, well, I don't want to just do fitness for purposes of living a long time and to never be limited physically in life. I also want to look attractive. I also want to be able. And currently I have an older son who is pursuing the weight room. And I'm sure there will be a period in time where like he can already beat me in a run. Like he can sprint faster than me now, which we used to do that. I've seen the Instagram reel videos of like, hey, my son and I race every year on his birthday.
Yeah.
Well, the times of me beating him in these races that these dads do, like it's gone. He now sprints faster than me. I bought some hurdles for the house, and it's like you can change the height of them. And he was jumping over the 36-inch hurdle 4 in a row and was just bounding, not like jumping and having to like bend his legs.
No, it's like
just
reactive.
pulling his knees. Like you could just see he was very elastic in the way that he can move.
Those bring me back to the vigor days. We used to do that.
Right. And I was a CrossFitter, right?
Yeah.
I never do any of that kind of stuff. So I watched it, and this was within the last month or so. And it was just this reminder of like, I should be able to do that as well. And I can't. I tried to just purely coordination, not that I wasn't able, like I wasn't like knocking over the 24-inch hurdle, and that's embarrassing. So,
did you wait till they were gone?
No, my wife and I, actually the kids had left the room and Megan and I both did it, but I jumped and she did it and she was like, that was hard. Like, and just watching our boys do it, but it was this reminder of, yes, I don't want to be limited physically in life. Yes, I would like to live as long as possible, but I sort of look at it. You asked the question, what does fitness mean to me? Well, fitness means, I never will be limited physically in life, one, but if there was like a straight line for aesthetics, if there was a straight line for being athletic, and there was a straight line for living as long as possible, and they sort of like intertwined at an intersection point, that's where I want my physical life to be. I would like to look good in a bathing suit. I would like to know that I can jump, I can bound. I mean, we all know the client or the person. I see it every year during football season, the guy who is trying to race his team. That I heard a lady yesterday on the field. We're watching my youngest boy do flag football practice, and she's like basically making fun of her husband and how he popped a hamstring because she was like, he was running in a straight line. I don't know how he popped a hamstring. But in my head, I'm like, I know he's not doing anything physical in his life. That's why he blew his hamstring. But I also know clients who playing basketball with their son, or they went to the trampoline park and they blew a knee out. And it's like, well, unfortunately in a gym setting, sometimes you get very, and I've fallen guilty to this as a programmer and as a coach, to where I program within a methodology instead of like, what did I promise you when you started here? Athletic, aesthetics, and then live a long time. And I've maybe done really well with the live a long time, and you might like how you look aesthetically, but athletically you're not there. Like we did a workout a couple weeks ago that had broad jumping in it, and all my clients the next day had sore adductors and like shins. And it was like, oh my God,
not doing this enough. That
sucks, but you're not doing it enough, right? And if I asked you to change direction, or like I train athletes now too, so like watching them do something like a sideways broad jump to where they almost get into like a skater jump position, and they jump and they learn how to land. Things like having them do like a hip lock. You know what a hip lock is, right? Like, so it's like a single leg deadlift, but you basically lean down to the ground. You have a neutral spine. You bend at the hip. It's like a single leg deadlift, but you touch the ground and you stand. But it's like people don't train balance either. So it's like athletic. So fitness for me now is sort of that three-pronged approach. Plus, I'd never want to be limited physically in life. And that's changed, and obviously we'll talk about that as we go. But that's sort of what comes to mind when asked that question for me. Is like, hey, I want to live as long as possible. It's very important that I can still jump and chase my kids and go throw the football, which is harder because the old shoulder doesn't like it as much anymore. But I'm going to try to extend that horizon as long as I possibly can. And maybe in that process, I don't know, maybe I'll beat Noah and probably not, but you know what I mean? But that's how I would answer that question.
It's pretty close to mine. It's funny because as I've been training these cops that have been coming and working out with me, and this is why I like the performance bodybuilding style of training, because there's just enough of that stuff in there. So I love bodybuilding. Like as soon as the High Rocks was done, I went right back to bodybuilding, bro. I was so sore though, because so much volume that I'm used to. But I still do enough of these explosive drills. So like on Fridays they come, we lift, and we start with something explosive. We just did broad jumps last week. Oh, yeah. But it's cool because I can look at them and I have to demonstrate these things perfectly so that they do it right, because the last people I want to get injured in my gym are police officers who are in my town keeping me safe. You know what I mean? So, but it's cool to be doing that stuff, and then we sprinkle in bodybuilding and everything. But for me, man, it's very, very similar. I just always think of the word capable. It's like I just want to be capable. You know, there's nothing that comes in my way that I can't get done. And like obviously we could throw out some like hypothetical scenarios that are ridiculous that but like
carrying your family out of a burning building, things like that. Yeah.
But even that, like, it was so funny because one of the days we were doing sandbag carries, and one of my sandbags out there it's like 120 pounds, I think it is. But one of them was like, "How heavy is that?" And I was like, "I don't. It's my wife." And he like laughed, and I just looked at him serious.
But I know I'm serious.
I was like, "But I'm serious." He's like, "Do you know how much it weighs?" I was like, "I actually don't. I just know that it's about the same, and it's probably like 115, 120 pounds, and I gotta be able to carry it. If there's a house burning and one of our beams falls and hits her in the head, I'm carrying her out of that, and my daughter."
How did he look at you after that? Like,
he just laughed.
Oh yeah.
but it's the funny thing is like it really is true. Like I actually did say that when I got it, and we put sand in it. Which ironically, I didn't go buy sand or weigh it out. I actually just took, at the time, my daughter had one of those little turtle things. You pull the lid off and there's a sandbox in there. And we were moving and we were getting rid of it. And I just put all the sand in the bag. And it's pretty heavy. Honestly, it's probably heavier than Shannon, if I'm being honest. It's pretty big. But I think about those things because it's like, okay, well, there's that. There's like, how quickly could I get across my house? We live in like a long rambler, you know? And it's like, okay, if something happens in the middle of the night, can I get up out of my sleep and get across the house to my daughter's bed quick enough? You know, as soon as the alarm goes off or I need to. That's sprinting. That's being reactive. That's, you know, there's that thing, a cheetah doesn't warm up to run, which is like ridiculous. But it might, like, if I need to, you know, can I? So being capable to me is being really prepared for whatever, you know. If somebody, and this could be as simple as, hey, dude, like, I want to go on a hike. You want to come with me? And me not go, I really want to go. In my mind thinking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to hang.
Can the knees take it?
Yeah. I don't want to worry about that. Like, I can be sore after whatever. I mean, like, dude, High Rocks, I was so sore for days. But, like, there wasn't a point where I ever was like, I can't do it. Yeah. There was plenty of times where I was like, this is going to suck. I might not enjoy it, but I never doubted, can I get it done, you know? And I definitely could have trained better because my training kind of fell off towards the end of the year for it. But, like, I think if I can just look at everything and just be like, am I physically capable to handle whatever it is? And sometimes it says, and this sounds so funny, but sometimes I feel just good when, like, Shannon is doing a project at home and she needs to wait for me because something needs to be, like, lifted or whatever. And I'm just like, I got it. And, like, I can just carry it wherever she needs to carry it. And I'm moving stuff. And it's just like the fact that she just doesn't question, she just knows that I'm not going to hurt my back lifting something at home is a good feeling. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Throwing my daughter around, anything.
The other day, Holden said something, just so, like, something being heavy. And Megan goes like, Daddy will get it. And then he's like, well, that's really heavy. And she was like, well, Daddy's really strong. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, that's right. Dad is strong. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, well, just like you said, like the capability portion, although I didn't think about it as like that being the goal, maybe until the last 4 or 5 months. Mm-hmm. But it's like that resiliency has sort of been built. Yeah. You know?
Well, dude, like you have 2 big huskies. So like you probably see this too. But I thought about this, even when we brought up this topic via text, I was kind of thinking about these different things. And like, Bubba is so gentle with, like, I mean,
he's
this dude,
meatball though.
Dude, he's 80 pounds. I mean, that guy, when he runs and like, just like sometimes if he wants to play, he'll just run and just like, it's like he's chest bumping me. It's hilarious. And dude, it's hard not to fall over, bro. He weighs like twice my daughter's weight, but like, so he's so gentle with her. And even with my wife, he'll be a little bit more rough, but you can tell. But like that's an animal. And you can watch, he gets a little more aggressive with Shannon when she wants to play. And then when it's Dad, this dude is growling, barking, tugging. He's jumping at me, clawing me because he knows that he can't hurt me. Yeah. You know what I mean? And if there's a moment where he does like scratch me and I like raise my voice, he, you know, ears tucked, he knows. Alpha. Yeah. But like, and this isn't like a bravado man thing, but the point is that whether I was a male or a female in that situation, an animal is going to raise their aggressiveness in playing settings based on who they know can handle it. And like, that is the perfect example of being capable. You know what I mean? Like, that dog is going to get more and more rough because it knows that I can handle it.
Yeah.
And like, it's
good.
It's a fat bulldog, but
dude, he's a tank.
Still,
he's a tank.
He is a tank. And dude, I don't know if bulldogs have lockjaw like pit bulls.
Oh,
but I mean, once he gets a grip, dude, it's like an isometric tug of war for as long as I can go. Now
he's got a huge neck. I can't imagine.
Oh, dude, now he wins. Unless I literally grab it and I'll rotate his head so it starts twisting to the point where I'm like, your neck's going to snap if you don't let go. And then he'll finally let go. And that's my ego because I don't want to lose.
Yeah.
But otherwise, he'll just hold it. It's crazy. And Huskies are even.
Literally last night, we, more outlived principles. I have gotten into the practice of, I very often will get home late at night. So coaching until 7:30-ish. Last night, I get home around 8, and the wife had made dinner. So I come home, I ate dinner. Because I've been eating dinner late, I've been doing the best I can not to eat something. Number one, that spikes my blood sugar so late, but also something that's going to like sit in my stomach all night long. Because I started to have, you probably remember this when you coached me, I had like GI issues for a bit. A lot of that was during marathon time because I was just consuming carbs and fiber and just like supplements to for whatever reason, those things were irritating my gut. Because a lot of that went away.
And you're a big dude, so you got a lot of calories.
Sure. So like, I think that contributed to it. But one big thing that I've noticed is like, I eat late at night because I get home late. So I basically was like researching like my GI health and like, and you probably could speak to this more than I could, but one simple thing was like, hey, go for a 10 to 15 minute walk after, especially if you are spiking your blood sugar or, you know, insulin's going up because you have eaten something so late and it's got carbs in it. Like last night it was like sweet potatoes and broccoli like mixed together. So it's like that sweet potato is going to, even though it's lower glycemic, it's still going to spike, right? So we've been going on a walk every night, 10 to 15 minutes, throw the headlamp on and we go. We take the dogs with us. The dogs will very frequently like run away from Megan. They'll just dart to the neighbors and she has to go over there and get them and the neighbor will like grab a hold of them. They never like run away. Well, one of them did one time, but I digress. The dogs will like take off on her all the time. And, you know, we get back last night and we're at the end of the driveway and I popped their leashes off and she was like, I would never do that if that was us out here because they would just run off. And in my head, I'm like, they know that I'm in charge. I said this out loud. It's like, because I'm the alpha. And it's because like, I am completely confident that they'll stay with me. Well, the only reason I put the leash on is because we're on the road and I worry that they could wander far enough to get hit by a car or something like that. Right. Yeah. But they will stay like with me, near me, and not get too far away because they know maybe it's a respect thing, maybe fear, who knows? It's not like I beat them. So like, I don't know why it would be fear, but it's an energy thing of like, I don't have to worry about them running away. I can let them outside to go pee and like use the restroom and I don't have to like keep them on a leash. Yeah. But I think it's an energetic thing of maybe capability. You know, they're just like, hey, that dude's really big. Probably want to listen to what he says and stay near him and not get too far away from him. Yeah.
But like, you know what, part of being, in my opinion, at least, like talking about like manhood and stuff, part of being an alpha is not always fun. It's the same thing with like being the boss, being the CEO, you know, like I don't, you know, like when Bubba, I got a bougie dog. It's cold right now, you know.
Did he have like a sweater or something?
He does. It's hilarious.
So
but like, but this is funny because I'm like, you don't need a sweater. Get out there.
Get over there.
Tough it up.
Yeah.
But no, like there was, he hasn't gone potty inside in, dude, I don't know how long. Sure. And he did this winter, just once. And I'm convinced that it was cold outside and he was like, screw it. I'm going to go in the laundry room where the potty pad used to be when he was a puppy.
I'll just deal with the repercussions.
Thankfully, basically. But like, Shannon waited, told me, like, I mean, she didn't just leave it there all day, but like, you know, I woke up, she woke up after me, she caught it and then told me. I went and cleaned up, but I'm the one that, you know, I don't literally rub his face in it, but you know what I mean? I got to discipline him and that's not fun. Mm-hmm. Like, so part of the dog fearing is also because if you're the one in charge of disciplining, you don't feel good about disciplining. No. As a CEO, you have to make hard decisions, have hard conversations. You have to deal with bills and finances and money. And if everything fails, if you get sued, if like, there's been things that I never thought I would have to like deal with or go through that I have had to go through because I'm a CEO. And it's like, people forget about that part about being a business owner, you know? It's like, nobody likes doing that. Mm-hmm. And like, there's times where, I mean, you probably do this, you sit back and you're like, what am I doing? Like, I don't have to do this.
I literally got message.
Why am I doing this?
I had a client yesterday. Her daughter's doing like a business, some sort of like entrepreneur business book report or something whatever presentation she's doing for some class in high school. And she asked, could she interview me? And she asked me a question about like, what are some things about being a business owner that most people don't know? And I was like, what is the most challenging part of being a business owner? And I said, it's that you don't know two things. You basically wear a ton of hats every single day, especially when you're first starting out. And then the work and stress that is required is 10 times more than you think it is. And I think those of us who walk in that every single day just sort of live there. You know, like it's like I live in stress. And I heard a conversation with Jeff Bezos one time, and he said from the minute I open my eyes until the minute I cut my phone off at night, I'm putting out fires. And I was like, oh, dude.
Yeah.
You know, here I am worried because I'm putting out fires all day that like my thing's broken. And it's like, no, like,
that's what you signed up for.
That's literally and it's just like, I'm going to get blown up like this every single day, and I'm just going to be okay with it. And it's funny now, I'm just like, of course this is happening. Yeah. Here we go. I'm going to fix that. I'm going to move on to the next thing.
So, and to me, that's what being like an alpha is. Mm-hmm. And an alpha can be in any category realistically, but it's like the willingness to put up with what you need to put up with or deal with, or be the one that puts the fire out, be the one that handles it, be the one that finds the solution, especially when you know there's an easier route. Like as an online business owner and coach, like, I mean, yeah, it'd be a lot easier if I just did this by myself. I'd probably like financially, nothing would change, to be honest with you. Right. But my impact would be lower. The sense of reward and fulfillment I get would be lower. I wouldn't be able to provide for my team and like the things they get to accomplish and achieve and do in life. And like those things fill my cup. So it's like knowing that God put me here to do it and just being okay with it. You know, me and Shannon have had a lot of these conversations before, because it's like when you just, I mean, you know, sorry for lack of better terms, when you're just getting kicked in the nuts, and it's like, why are you just, you're still standing there with your legs open. Why are you doing that? And it's like, well, to an extent,
just take the knife out your neck.
Yeah. Well, to an extent, I just like, this is what it is. It's like, have you seen that? It's the funniest thing. It's about like men and women. So this would be a different context, but there's like a nail in her forehead. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Oh my. And she's like, I just got this headache and it's just this pain. And then it zooms out and there's a nail in her forehead. And he's like, well, why don't you take the nail out of your forehead? And she's like, don't belittle this situation or something like that. Dude, it's so funny. But sometimes that's how I feel. I'm like, well, there's a nail in my forehead and I know it's there, but I'm just supposed to keep it there. And I don't know.
We're talking about prospects of my future like business outings right now.
Yeah.
And I share with you one, I'm not gonna talk about it on here obviously, but because if it doesn't happen, I'm look stupid, but like just thinking about it, that's gonna be another knife in my forehead.
Yeah.
But it's like, I shared why it could be an expansion of certain things that I'm pursuing in my life, right? My ministry, my reach in helping people. Also my death, in my opinion, the death of just terrible gyms. Like, let's just turn them all into virtuous gyms, you know. But it's like, that's going to be another thing that's going to likely piss me off on a daily basis.
One of my most popular Instagram posts I've ever had, like the most engagement, shares, everything. It says, remember that everyone who has succeeded has also failed. They just kept trying.
That's good.
And it's literally like the amount of CEOs who have 10 failed businesses before the one that you know about won. Yeah. You know what I mean? The amount of people who lost a ton of weight and saw a transformation, who did 10 diets unsuccessfully before that one worked. Like, I've had businesses that didn't work out before this one. I've tried to lose weight before I figured it out too. Like, we've all done that. And I think like it's part of winning is that, right? It's the willingness to fail. I think Winston Churchill has a really good quote about that in some regards, but it's just like the willingness to fail over and over and over again, I think is really like where it's at. Yeah. You know, and so speaking of the actual topic, fitness and how it's evolved, that's
quite a tangent we got on right there.
Yeah,
we could have done a whole podcast on that.
One of the things that has changed for me is, I think like part of the reason why I do fitness is not just for the being capable thing. To me, that's like the definition. Like, if you're a fit person, you're capable. Like, that's how I think of the definition. For me, like, one of my whys is like the pursuit of trying something different and trying something new and potentially failing at it. You know, like, I'm not I've gotten a medal, but I'm not a like top bodybuilder. You know, I didn't place first at the half marathon. They still gave me a medal. Everyone gets a trophy.
We ran really fast though.
we did. It was actually a pretty good time. But like I did that, you know. High Rocks, I wasn't first place there either, but I finished it and I did it, you know, and everything is just about like accomplishing those things. And it's like going into those pursuits, not knowing if you're going to get it done, not knowing if you're going to fail, and being kind of anxious about it because it is a competition. It is a challenge. It is not guaranteed that you are going to finish, that you are going to win. There's something about that process that shapes who you are so much. Like I can't imagine I would have a successful business today if I didn't pursue fitness the way I do. You know what I mean? Like I've talked obviously a lot about this, and it's funny that you said, you know, wearing all these hats, you have to choose hard, and like the hat says choose hard on it. I was like, that's perfect. Yeah. Perfect now that I decided to do a hat first.
Yeah.
But the idea of fitness being just the easiest way to choose hard, and it just helps so many. Like I could, in a situation with my daughter throwing a fit, let's go on a walk. I'm going to teach you something. I have to be patient and not like overreact. Like I've been plenty patient during bodybuilding, and it's a long drawn out prep. Yeah. You know, like everything I can just look at fitness and go, I've had worse. Like I've done more. I've pushed my body further. I've pushed my mind further. Like this is nothing compared to that. Now you have to reflect on those things because in the moment you might want to yell or freak out or react. And sometimes we do, but I feel like there's this aspect of being able to look back on all your fitness journeys and know that you've just done so many things that are harder than what you're going through physically and mentally, you know, and then eventually business becomes that way too. Something happens in business and you're like, man, that one time.
How many people, so I've had a lot of conversations about this too, is like around the whole conversation of capability, right? Both of us have had the pleasure to be around just people who have excellence in their life, right? Who have successful businesses, who successful marriages, just there is evidence of success all throughout their lives. I can't think of anybody who also doesn't have a healthy respect for the gym or exercising. Very few people who have this like success in their life don't value these things. And I think, you know, we were talking about like leadership inside of like the church and stuff like that. Like you can see that throughout too. It's like when that's not there's missing fruit in some capacities, and I'm being G-rated right now, but like I can relate to that 100%.
How many successful people in any regard, I'm not just talking about money, but definitely money included, business success, are successful and also, and this sounds harsh, overweight, fat, out of shape, unhealthy?
I can't think of very many.
There's like none. You know, unless you go back to the medieval days, but back then, like that meant wealth because they started eating, stopped fighting war, stopped doing any work, and they died early. And then the prince became the king, and then he got fat. Like it was just, you know, and I'm only saying that based on watching cool movies. I don't know anything about the history.
Historically correct and accurate shows like Vikings and Game of Thrones and things like that. You know?
Yeah. So thinking of just that in general, it's like, well, fitness for me has become like, it's almost like a non-negotiable. And some people might roll their eyes and be like, yeah, well, you run a fitness business. And I agree. It becomes a much stronger non-negotiable. Sure. Like, and that's because I have a lot of respect for myself.
Only because it holds you more accountable.
100%. Yeah. And I have a lot of respect for the people that hire us and the people that listen to this podcast. And I know that if I'm not, it's like one of my biggest motivators is being a role model to the people that look to us for advice, because if I'm not walking the walk, why would they trust me? And if they don't trust me, I can't influence them in a positive way. But even in other regards, other industries, other careers, other anything, it's like people who take care of themselves from a health perspective, they always do better in everything they do.
I was having a conversation last night about my son's baseball team that he plays for right now. And I won't put anybody on blast. Maybe they listen to this. Maybe they
James don't. Richardson, age 35.
Yeah. Formerly of, went to this high school. So he was just kind of sharing. So I'm watching the practice and I'm frustrated just because I'm careful with this because I understand, like I coached football this year. It was very hard. It was a lot of time. You get paid nothing for it. You're a volunteer. Not that I did it for that anyways, but like it just adds injury to insult or insult to injury. Right. But I'm watching it's just, there's no thought into the practice. There's, it just looks unorganized. Like my son was like joking around, which frustrates me even more. Cause I'm like, look, and maybe some parents will disagree. I'm like, we're not doing sports so that we can participate. Like we're doing sports because it is an extension of us self-developing and getting better at a craft, something, whether you push in baseball or you're like my oldest and you're chasing football dreams, like whatever we're doing, we're going to do it to a level of excellence because that's what the Smiths do. And we had to have that conversation after because it was so unorganized that like all the kids were just kind of screwing around the whole time. But a coach came over to me after, and I'm the fitness guy, so people come over and it's just a fitness conversation, always happens in some way, shape, or form. And he said he was just saying something to the tune of, when I played baseball in high school, and then when I played in college, and then when I went on into playing for like a semi-pro team here, I used to always be in the weight room. And then since then, I've just sort of like not done it. And then he started to give me excuses why, right? And I tell the story about baseball, and I tell this story because there was a parallel. Like the coaching ability, the way the practice was organized showed whether it was on purpose or not on purpose, whatever.
Reflection. There
was just a reflection of there was this person lacked excellence in his physical life, and he also lacked it in leading this particular practice. And I understand that maybe people who don't live in the fitness world don't see that parallel. And he started to sort of go into a spiel about not having enough time and busy and work and this, that, and the other. And I realize I work in a gym, but I would say my ability to work out in that gym is far harder than anybody who doesn't run a gym, because when I'm in the gym, I'm usually distracted. I'm interrupted constantly. It's actually I actually work out at home a lot of times because it's hard to work out when I'm there. Yeah. But I essentially I told him a story. I didn't say like, well, everybody's got time. I didn't like lean into him. I don't know him that well. Like I didn't feel like that was my place, but I did sort of tell him a story of in the history of Cody, in that like I weighed over 300 pounds and I was also busy, and I sort of found a way, and I hope I painted a parallel and maybe impressed upon him, hope I'm saying that right. That like you do have time, and I sort of just wanted to reflect the excuse on him a little bit to maybe help him. And maybe he took it, maybe he did, maybe he completely missed the story or whatever it may be, but it just was this reminder of like, yeah, like the way you do your physical body, whether people see it or not, it 100%, like if you don't have excellence in your physical body, I bet there's some other areas of your life you also don't have excellence. Yeah. They just all run together.
Yeah, I think they 100% do. And I think that, so number one with the whole time thing, like every hour of somebody's day is still a choice. Sure. You know, like if you that's why I love that saying, like you either have results or you have reasons, right? Because people try to give reasons why they didn't do blank, they couldn't do blank. People who take ownership don't give reasons. They just state the facts. Like if you were like, I don't have time to do that right now because I'm coaching my son's football game. That's an excuse, but like you chose to do that. So somebody with ownership just says, I'm not doing this because I chose to do this, which is great. That's fine. And no, like, you know what I mean? Like, okay, that's your choice. That's your time. But what are you watching on Netflix right now? And if they have an answer like this, it's like, okay, well, you're choosing to watch Netflix instead of do this. Now, that's not saying, no, don't watch Netflix, be hardcore, and, but like.
Take the TV off the wall. I'm like, I'm a big Andy Elliott guy. Yeah. He's yelling at somebody, and he's like, unless you're a millionaire, get the TV off your wall.
So stupid.
But in my head, I'm like, there is some validity in that,
So, well, and this is where, like, it's funny because I used it as a lesson for my daughter. And she was, I can't remember what it was. I try to, like, anytime I catch her complaining, I try to, like, find a way to teach her something, right? And I don't know, I can't remember what I was trying to prove to her. Oh, I think it was that, like, we put family first, and it's like, hey, like, I spend a lot of my time giving to you because that's what I love to do, and I want you to know how it is to be a servant as well and give to others and blah, blah, blah. And we were talking about the TV at the time, and I said, what is Dad's favorite show? And she just looked at me with a blank stare. And after a while, she goes, you don't like TV. And I go, no, that's not right. I just choose to let you watch what you want all the time. Dad doesn't choose the movies. Dad doesn't choose I want to let you watch whatever. I did the same thing with music. what kind of music does dad like to listen to? Now she knows. She'll say Forrest Frank, and because I have certain ones that I listen to around her. But I don't choose to watch, like, I don't have a show. The only shows I ever have is whatever me and Shannon want to watch together. So, like, there's times where, like, if I'm like, I'm not going to work and Shannon's gone or she's watching her show with a friend, like she used to watch Bachelor, she'd be like, just watch one of your shows. I'm like, I don't have any. I don't know what to do. So I just work and I read and I study because I'm like, that's what I choose to do. And so I say all that to say, like, everybody does have a choice of what they spend their money on, what they spend their time on. It's all investments that you're choosing to do, right? And so there's some things that are non-negotiables. Work. You have to work. But outside of that, you are choosing to do certain things. If you have to drive from one place to another, you can choose to listen to music, or you could choose to listen to a podcast like this. You could choose to listen to an audiobook. You could be learning more than what you know right now. And when you have more knowledge, you begin to understand how to take more actions. But you're choosing to listen to music instead, right? Choose to listen to something that's going to empower your brain, right? And so I think that everything comes down to a choice of time. And the other thing I was going to say off of what you were talking about is that whole like reflection game. I see that so much as well. And I see that the more I've trained over the years, the more it's helped me. And maybe this isn't just training, but it's helped me connect the dots between all these things. Like, I think that you're going to be so much more motivated to train hard, to consistently be healthy, to consistently train in the gym and build muscle, get stronger, lose fat, whatever it is, if you can see what it's doing for you everywhere else. I'm doing a talk in for our members next week, and it's all about basically the evolution of your goals, which is funny because I had that topic picked out before we even discussed that this was what we're going to talk about today. But as you get more in shape, as you train harder and you're going to accomplish your goal and you check off the box, you have to set another goal in some way, shape, or form, because that process and that journey is really what it's all about. But if you don't figure out how this improves other areas of your life, in that if I set a long-term goal and I work for it, it's going to teach me patience. And as a patient father, I'm a much better father. As I do this, I'm going to be able to be disciplined consistently. As somebody who's disciplined, it means that I can better delegate my time to improve different areas of my life. As I do this, I'm going to improve my self-control, which is going to allow me to stay strong in any temptation that life throws at me in any area of my life, right? And I could just keep going down the list, but it's all because I'm chasing fitness goals. You know what I mean? And I think that people like the guy you're talking about, you can see that in other areas of their life because they're not fit, and it's the easiest way to point out how all these dots connect. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
When I listen to Hormozy talk about like certain things in business, he almost always will, and maybe you catch on this too, he always relates it to something fitness wise. Yeah. And I think it's because it's easy for most of us to comprehend, right? Because we can, I think everybody listening to this podcast right now has failed on a diet, or they failed in a fitness goal of some sort. And we probably also succeeded in some way, shape, or form when it comes to fitness in some capacity. So I think it's like an easy parallel. But I think sometimes, like, as we age, people start to allow certain excuses to take precedent. And, like, you know, because we've been talking today about, like, you know, progressing in our fitness and what that sort of looked like and stuff like that. But, like, for whatever reason, for me, I choose that as I get older, my chase of fitness will not change as far as like the main theme. But I can see that the type of fitness has changed. But like the main like theme that I'm chasing has not. Like I've been heavier in athletic at one point. I've been heavier in aesthetics at one point. Right now I'm heavy in longevity, but it's all sort of going in the same direction. It's just maybe the vehicle in which I use to get there changes. And I think like, but
you're always checking that box.
I'm checking something. Yeah. And or like I'm checking the fitness box. Yeah, correct.
I think that's where people go wrong though, is they don't have that box in their list. You know what I mean? Like the way I even look at like what I invest my money on, you know, it's like, well, I got insurance, mortgage, fitness, check. You know what I mean? Like personal development, check, faith, check. It's like, why are those things not as important as your bills and as the cable TV? Like if anybody is investing in Comcast, I mean, dude, I have Hulu, Prime, Netflix, Disney Plus. I found out we had Stars the other day, and like Paramount Plus. Like there's just so many now, you know, and you end up going, oh, I'll do a free trial so I can watch the show, and then you forget.
They know you're $150 per month in on the subscriptions. Yeah.
Not me. My frugal is looking at that stuff constantly.
Cancel.
Shannon always makes fun of me. I was joking the other day. I was like, I paid for Blakely's meal in the drive-thru with change. And she was like, no, you didn't. And I was like,
sure did.
Yep. Ones and some change. I was like, why not? Like, I was like, babe, that's why we're in a good place. I'm very frugal. Like, but anyway, I think that if you are spending money on all those things and you're not investing in your health, be that physical or mental, like that's an issue.
I'm literally walking through that right now. Let me tell you a funny story. So Peter Attia, my guy, been teaching me about living long, right? One of the things he says in the book that is like a very good driver of like living a long time, he calls it atherosclerosis. Am I saying that right? It's a big word. I just got a PR. So
you crushed it.
I'm like trying to think of how the word looks in the book as I'm saying it. But he said one of the things, the biggest indicators or movers of that is obviously fitness, number one. It feels like that whole book is like eat right, move a lot, get some sunlight, and be happy.
Very simple.
Which here we are in fitness.
Does he talk about being around other people?
Yes. Emotional health is like, or what's the word?
Like social.
I forget what it's called. Mental health, right? He talks about like mental health at the end of the whole book, and it's the most, in my opinion, most robust chapter. And I think it's easy. Some of us will like look past some of that stuff, but fitness, nutrition, joy and happiness, getting on nature, things like that are like the main drivers. The last thing he talks about is some of the sidecar things that are also big movers. Sauna for like reduction of cancer and drop in risk of atherosclerosis. Cell regeneration, but he's talking about sauna. He's talking about cold plunge, secondary to sauna, and maybe some of these other things like the compression, some of the biohacking side, compression things, stuff like that. But recently, Megan and I have been talking about getting one of those like nice saunas at the house, like an outdoor sauna, and I couldn't help but I caught myself in that like, well, that's a $7,000 sauna. It's probably another $1,500 for the electrical because we want it on a back deck, which means we need to dig a trench. We need to run a 50 amp fuse in the power cord all the way up there. So it's like, we're going to be close to 10 grand to put that in. And it's like, you were just talking about all these subscriptions, but like I'm balking at getting a sauna because of the price, but how many thousands of dollars have I spent on plane tickets or stupid subscriptions or, how many times I stop and get a Rockstar at the gas, so I'm looking at this in myself and I'm like, I told her literally this morning before I came up here, I was like, talk to Mike. He's one of our electrical guys at the gym. I was like, Mike said he'd do our electrical for us. I'm ordering us a sauna. And she's like, are we sure we want to spend that money? I'm like, no, of course I don't want to spend that money. and I could think of so many things that would probably be, that we could also spend that money on, but vacations and things like that. But if I value my health, I've got like, what does Hormozy say? Like where you spend your money is where you value what you value most, right? Yeah. And it's like, I do spend my money on supplements and things around fitness and all that kind of stuff. But like, so the sauna is the same thing, and like, if that's one of the other big movers and I'm doing all the other things are pretty good. So it's like, that's another thing that I can do to stack the chips in my favor. Let's go ahead and drop the money and let's just get it done, Yeah. And maybe if people don't have that kind of money, they literally you can finance it. So it's like, do what you need to do, but like, it's like putting your money in the things where like it actually benefits your health long term. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. The problem with that is there's no immediate ROI. You don't buy a sauna and feel better. I feel better. My blood. But like if you really think about how many days, especially if you do it daily, it just stacks and stacks and stacks. Huberman talks about it all the time. Yeah, I did a podcast with the guy that owns Sisu Lifestyle, and that's what I'm looking at. His audio it got messed up, so we're gonna have to redo it again. But really good podcast and conversation, and he said that he was like, he's obviously into sauna, but he said the biggest benefit that I have found is that it gives me 20 minutes with my wife every night after the kids are in bed to connect. He's like, it's a different type of connection when you're just sitting there with your wife. There's no TVs, no phones, nothing, and you're just sweating and just talking. We want it outside. Like, so that is cool. We want it outside so that we can get that calmness, being out. We'll do it at night, be in the dark. But I like the thought of like, I'm going to walk through, I'm going to walk outside in the cold, steaming, and, walk into my house. And like, there's an element of that intimacy with my woman during that time too, Yeah, absolutely. And you're exiting one place and going into another place, It's the same reason why your workspace is often separate from your household. Yeah. There's different environments. No, I think that like sauna, we've been looking at saunas too. Cause I really want one. And the barrel, the 2-person one. Yeah.
it's shocking how much more beneficial they are than cold plunge. Like I did those podcasts on the science of cold plunge and the science of sauna and heat exposure, and it was wild how much more research there is to show sauna's better.
I think for the mental, cold plunge is fantastic.
That's it. Yeah, that was the biggest thing, and I agree with that because you're doing something really hard. But the reality is like that's part of what I think fitness does. You know, I would say that to kind of like if we can kind of start wrapping up that topic and conversation, that's probably been the biggest benefit in my mind is just consistently creating these traits in life: discipline, self-control, self-belief, self-respect. It's just, this is, I'll share something vulnerable. This is funny. I feel weird saying this, but I'll like belittle myself right afterwards. So it'll be fine. It'll equal itself out. I've been a very confident person for a long time now. Like, so I don't experience insecurities, you know? And I'm sharing this because I want people to understand like how great this is. But I've seen so many people who are insecure transform, and then they just live a life without any insecurities anymore because fitness gave them the element they needed to be mentally sharper and more confident at work, confident at home, confident in the bed, confident when they go to school, if they're in college. Like, it doesn't matter, you know, they have the confidence to go back to school. Whatever it is, like people just live on a different level. Fitness has done that for me so much that I just always feel more capable and confident about my abilities and who I am. And that includes physically and aesthetically, right? Visually. But everybody in my family's bald. My hair's thin and bad. And it's all because this YouTuber dude, he commented like, and I think it was a genuine comment too. It wasn't even a troll. He was like, he complimented me for being so confident despite losing my hair. And like,
when was this?
Oh, it was a while ago.
Okay.
I was like,
you never told me this before.
Oh, dude, it was hilarious. I remember saying something on my Instagram story because after it happened, I was like, I don't know how to take this. Yeah. But I caught myself looking at my head more, and I was like, oh yeah, crazy. And then like, I saw it in the picture, and then like I hadn't seen my brother in a while, and he shaved his head because he was going bald. And I was like, dang.
Here it comes.
It's happening to us too? Because my dad, same thing. Yeah. And so it's just, I mean, it happens, right, in our family. And, but I was talking to Shannon about it. Like, I might get the hair transplant kind of thing, you know, where they start taking hair out of the back of your head and put it up top, and it just never goes away. Because nobody goes bald in the back of their head. Which is wild.
What's the signs on that? Like,
I don't know.
Any of you guys out there?
He was telling
the signs
me.
Of that,
I already looked into it. I was talking to the guy. He was like, we could insert it on your nose. It'll never go away. Like, that hair does not. And I didn't ask him, why is that? What are the molecules like? But regardless, it's the first time I found myself kind of insecure because I was like looking in the mirror. I'm like, is it noticeable today? Like, wearing a hat more often, which is partially because I got to choose hard hats, and I was like, I want to represent this all the time. So it's perfect timing. But me and Shannon were talking about it, and I was like, I think I'm going to do that hair transplant thing. But it's like, I can't go do the work to grow that hair back, no matter how much I try. Like, it's not coming back, you know? And fitness gives you that security by just doing the work. You just have to go in and do it. You know what I mean? Like, and the nice thing about a hair transplant, it's actually pretty like normal. I'm not going to Turkey or anything crazy like that. Like, I know some guys.
I had a friend that went to like Guatemala. Like, are we taking a trip to Guatemala?
No, dude, this is in Bellevue.
Okay.
Like, yeah. It's way less invasive when you're not like desperately bald, you know? Yeah.
Like skin, you've been using the head blade for.
Yeah, it's not good. But the thing is like with that, they fix it and then it stays there, right? But like, you can try different cosmetic things to lose weight. You're probably going to gain weight again because you didn't develop the discipline, the traits to happen. Like, fitness is one of the only things that can fix, even if, like, the reality was I was looking at Shannon, I was like, all right, well, I got two options. I'm going to do this, or I'm just going to shave my head and I'm just going to be a jacked bald dude, which really isn't that bad either. The Transporter's dope. I love that guy. Jason Statham. It's like, he's one of my favorite actors. But like, fitness solves that. You know, like, everything kind of falls back to like, God forbid, I'm going to be in shape. I'm going to be physically capable. I'm going to be stronger than anybody in my circle. I'm going to make sure of it. I'm going to provide and protect my family. Like, to me, it's just like this perfect insurance policy over your life. It makes you better at everything. It makes you a better husband or wife. It makes you more attracted to your spouse and attractive for your spouse. It makes you more confident in the workplace. It makes you more disciplined and controlled and patient and consistent.
It's low-hanging fruit, right? Because I feel it's a very low barrier of entry way to build confidence.
Yeah.
Because confidence is a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are, right?
Yep.
So we were talking earlier about like my men's ministry and stuff like that, and I don't think of myself as like some, crazy leader with like all these high accolades and stuff like that. But so I struggle with insecurities. I struggle right now with being on this podcast, right? Like it's a thing that I have learned to walk with, and I will continue to stack proof that I am who I am. And I think that's why I can talk better. It's why I feel more confident. You're like, hey, you want to go podcast? I'm like, yeah, I can hold a conversation with you off the cuff, no script, but that's come from, what is this, the 4th or 5th time that I've been on the show? I'm probably the most repeat guest you've ever had, But it's fitness is such low-hanging fruit for building confidence because, like for me personally, with the marathon running, with MMA, with being a black belt in jiu-jitsu, with losing weight, with doing marathons and half marathons and all these things, it's like all those things are very, very, very hard. Mm-hmm. And it took a lot of discipline. It took a lot of, and I don't have great discipline all the time, but like there's evidence of my life of me doing these things, and it does help me with confidence on a podcast or in a room in front of other men or standing in front of my clients, because it's like, I'm telling you to do these things and to try hard things and to talking to you about discipline, because like I can speak with confidence that I know what you're going through. Yeah. It's not like I'm saying like, I totally get it and I'm 30 pounds overweight. Like that would hit different. Right. But that sort of goes in tandem with what you're saying about like looking the part.
Dude, this might be the soundbite. Yeah. This is a good one. This is I joke with Ariel. I'm like, that was a verdict. Because he has those one-liners sometimes. You're like, damn. Yeah. But he has like, he makes actually this will do that too, because it's the C's. Confidence does not come from comparison. Mm. And oftentimes people are seeking confidence or trying to get rid of insecurities, but they're stopping themselves from gaining confidence because they're constantly focusing on comparing themselves to others. If you compared yourself to me as a podcaster, and I can say I've done, what has aired 1,100 episodes in interviews, 1,500 if you add those, and ones that haven't aired because they sucked or I messed up the tech. Or 2,000. Sound was, do you know what I mean? Like I've done so many. And so you have to compare yourself to last time you were here doing a podcast. You have to, you know what I mean? Like, because confidence is what creates self-belief. Self-belief comes from proof, as you said. So if you continue to do the work consistently and you gain confidence through the proof you have as of results, which gives you that self-belief, you win. But it's never comparing to other people. You know what I mean? Like confidence is when you carry yourself because in your heart, like I've done the work, I've checked the boxes, I've chosen hard, and I keep doing it. Confidence never comes from comparing to others.
First thing that came to mind when you said that is, I love that. That's awesome. Definitely should cut that up, put that in the reel for sure. The other thing that came to mind is like confidence can only be earned. It cannot be like bought artificially. Right. It has to be something that you've developed through doing something, and obviously fitness, like I said, is very easy to use. Sure. There's other things you could do that are certainly hard to do, but it's definitely an easy way to earn confidence for yourself. Like if you're a person listening to this and you're lacking confidence somewhere, I guarantee you go to the gym. Tell me if you don't feel more confident when you walk out. Yeah. And get a sick pump in your arms and tell me that you don't feel certain. Girl or guy, doesn't even matter. Like you go do it. I guarantee you're going to walk out a more confident person. 100%. No doubt in my mind.
Well, the thing about this too, like so I think of like the half marathon training because that was such a different thing for me. But if I consumed your content, Nick Bear's content, anybody who has been a runner, and I compared myself to them, most likely it would shut down my confidence to the point that I wouldn't go out there and run. You know what I mean? But the only way I'm going to get more confident in running was I had to wake up. I'd have to drive this big loop in my neighborhood. I had to run every day. And I kept running and running and running until we went and ran 13.1.
13.1, I think, because the marathon is 26.2.
Yeah,
so 13.1.
Until we went and run.
Like I should know that already.
I know. I thought I should too. I was like, I did it. But I didn't have the confidence to run 13 miles at first, and I wouldn't have got the confidence if I didn't just go do the work. But so many people, I feel like when you compare yourself in the beginning, sometimes it can stop you. Like you talk about going to the gym. If you watch gym YouTubers all the time, you're going to be so insecure. You're not even going to go because you see them and you think the gym's full of them.
I'll never be as jacked as them.
Yeah. I got news for you. The gym is not filled with those people. The gym is filled with people just like you who are worried about being there, who think you're probably looking at them, judging them in their minds. And you're doing the same thing, looking at them, thinking they're judging you. And it's like,
so funny.
Yeah. Nobody, if only thoughts could be, just released.
Subtitles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that would be hilarious. But point being is, I do think that's a huge blocker of people's confidence. It mainly just because it stops you from doing the work in the beginning and taking action. That's really all. It's a consistent string of action that leads to you gaining confidence in anything. You know what I mean? Shoot, any parent can think of this. Like I remember the first week. Like I remember the moment my mother-in-law, Shannon's mom, drove off and wasn't going to help us anymore.
It's getting serious right now.
I was like, that's a human.
My human.
We got to take care of. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
We figured it out. We put in the reps. You know what I mean? So anyway, I think in general, we didn't talk much about, we can ramble it off real quick if you want. I've done a couple physique shows, half marathon, now a high rocks. I've done like Spartan Warrior race or mud runs, all those kind of things. I think I'm going to do a Spartan race this summer with clients, which will be fun. I don't know what I'm going to do next either. I was thinking tactical games because I have some buddies
that'd be awesome.
Want to train for that. But I have a lot of room to grow with the tactical side of that, not the fitness side, but the actual, and I don't want to rush that. Like I want to really enjoy that process. So I'm like trying to be patient. And I just started bodybuilding training again and I'm loving it. It's only been a week, but like, I'm just like, I just want to get in a good rhythm again, focus on some of the business stuff. I've been just like, dude, it was like show, marathon, or half marathon, high rocks, like boom, boom, boom. And I'm like, okay, let me take a breather. Yeah. But I think in general, like what it's evidence of, for me, fitness just makes, it's like, this podcast is more about what fitness does for you, I would say. And for me, it makes everything better. It makes me confident in everything else I do.
Me too. I can mirror a lot of those thoughts too. For me, fitness has gone, initially it started as doing martial arts, and truly, to be fairly intimate and deep for a second, much of my life I've struggled with comparison. I've struggled with imposter, low confidence, just all of the negative things that come, all the bad mental things. I've been cheated on by every girl I can ever think of that I've been associated with up until my wife now. Like it's just been a hard road. So I think I initially started doing mixed martial arts because like I wanted to feel, I was always like average baseball player, average at athletics in my childhood growing up. And most of the things, we're playing street hockey, I'm like third best. I was just never over the top. So I started martial arts sort of looking for a thing. Martial arts for me, when I started doing Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu and fighting MMA, was the first time that it was like I could see an outpouring of my effort, because I would just train all day. I mean, I'm not kidding, 6-8 hours per day I was training. Or if I wasn't training, I was running. And it was just like in my 8 MMA fights, like I never lost anything. I like won by landslides. It basically either knocked out or choked out everybody before one fight went the distance. And I finished that guy in the 3rd round. So it was like, I had these, almost like this thing of like, I can be good. I'm like the best at something. Guys were ducking fighting me. Like they're like, I'm not fighting the dude. He's going to beat the crap out of me. I won at 205, won the title there, amateur level. And then I was like, okay, I dominated that. I cleaned that category out. Maybe I'll go down. So I went down and I won that 185 belt. So it was like, okay, I'm really good at this. This was the first sign of like, wow, if I just put in a lot of effort, I could be really good at something. Yeah. So martial arts started initially for me to learn that, like, I guess discover value in myself. I'm kind of coming to that right now on this podcast. Is like martial arts was me feeling valuable as a person and feeling like I deserve to be, like, even sometimes when I would do CrossFit, I'd be in the room working out with like SEALs or SAR swimmers or EOD guys who are like all spec ops, right? And if I beat them in a workout, I'm like, I would have never beat them in a workout. I'm just chubby Cody, like, how am I beating these guys? So it was like MMA taught me to value myself. So then it went into CrossFit competition because I was like, oh, I can be good at this too. And like, we're dominating everybody at the local level. Could never beat, get to like the regional level or anything. But locally, we were just crushing everybody. So I was like, oh, I can be good at this too if I just put in a lot of effort. Did weightlifting after that because I was always tall, and being a tall Olympic weightlifter didn't make sense to people to be able to lift weights. So I think I snatched 117 kilos, which is like 257. And I think I clean and jerk in competition, it's like 297 or something like that. So it was like, those are some pretty good numbers. No, pounds.
I was like,
so what is that
Lord, dude?
What is that 129 kilos or something? I think
that's still so nuts.
So but like as a bigger guy, that felt pretty cool. But it was all like, these are building confidence. So it was like MMA into CrossFit competition, jiu-jitsu, or MMA and jiu-jitsu competition, into CrossFit competition, into Olympic weightlifting, back into CrossFit competition. After CrossFit, I sort of lost my fitness way and didn't have any goals. And that's when I discovered, when I first met you, I was coming out of CrossFit competition days. Some of your program is the first time I'd ever done like a true bodybuilding program. So then it was like bodybuilding, and then it went into half marathons, possibly a bodybuilding show. Then I looked at high rocks. I think in some of those things, I knew that if I didn't have a direction to point my vehicle, if you will, if I didn't point it somewhere, I knew I would struggle. What I found recently, my word for the year was refine. Mm-hmm. And that word is all because I sort of feel like maybe in some of these other chases, I lost my core focus as a coach and as a leader within my business, because my business is not marathons. My business is not...
Right.
My business is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it is functional fitness based around longevity. So my current refinement process is around sort of what I talked about in the beginning, never being limited physically in life, and really pursuing. I feel like people are more ready to listen to me as a black belt in my gym if I actively train hard. Not as in training so hard to where I'm injuring myself, but they see me on the mat, I'm sweating with them, I'm bleeding with them, like we're getting bumps and bruises and injuries together. And I feel like I can do that looking long term. And now I've actually focused less on doing challenges and things like that, and more on, I'm going to focus on being the best leader with my fitness in my organizations that I possibly can, and focus less on my personal challenges, because those unfortunately had pulled from like my time with my kids.
Yeah.
So I mean, Sal Frisella talks about this often. It's gonna go by faster than you think, right? My son just got his license yesterday, and there were times that I would miss maybe hanging out with him or throwing football because I had a 4-hour run that I needed to get done. Like, that's not okay, and that's a regret that I'm currently working through. So currently, my fitness has changed too. I don't really have a goal other than anything I do physically has to support me being a better leader. And that's actually has me pretty fired up. So far, we're coming up on March, so month 3, but I'm still pretty fiery about, like, that's the chase that I'm on right now.
Yeah.
That's kind of how fitness has evolved for me over the years. That's a little more long-winded than maybe yours, but yeah.
I love that, dude. I think that it's crazy because it's obvious, but if people just realize, that, you kind of said this in a nutshell. The only way to get rid of self-doubt is to prove yourself wrong. Right? Or I guess right, if you want to consider the goal. But like, it is. But like, if you have insecurity or if you're doubting yourself, you literally had to go fight. You literally had to go do CrossFit. You have to go do the thing. And that's the only way you're going to end up having enough proof in your life to remove the self-doubt. You know what I mean? Like, the crazy part is that the people often that we compare to, which creates this like projected judgment in our head that starts to build that insecurity, we're comparing to them, but they've done all the things to squash their own self-doubt, right? They're not belittling us by being who they are. They've just conquered their own insecurity like we want to, which is so funny because it's like we're comparing to somebody and that's creating an insecurity or self-doubt. Meanwhile, they squashed their insecurity and self-doubt, and that's what we want, But the SEALs, the tactical guys that you mentioned, they've just done all the work. They might have been insecure too, but like we never compare the bigger picture. We just compare their current state. You know what I mean? Like the podcast thing. If somebody is just starting a podcast and they compare it to me, it's like I've been podcasting for a decade. Like you can't like compare. It's not apples to apples. It's completely different scenarios. If you were to go back and compare it to the me that just started it, you'd feel great about your position.
I literally watched this was a couple of years ago, but I watched it was a video of you Theo, and you're sitting, you got the Yeti mic in the middle of your table, and you're like at something. I think Kaiser might have been there with you guys as well. Something that came to mind when you were like sort of going through your spiel was like, I think like you're talking about like these guys have gone through and they've like built success in their life and stuff like that, right? And that has given them confidence. They kill their own insecurity. I've been reading this book, Wild at Heart by John Eldredge. And so it's like, you know how he talks about like, we seek adventure. I think us seeking adventure, sometimes we can look at other people and like see what they're doing. And like, that can like give us this, sometimes it can give us false confidence, but I think a lot of times it gives us the comparison that you're talking about is like, we see that adventure and we just sort of like write it off and it's like, oh, that's not for us. Like I can never be like that person, you know? So it's like, there's like a positive negative in like a man's search for adventure, and that we see that we see excellence, or we see these things that these people have actually earned and we haven't yet. And that makes us feel a certain way. And it almost goes to like what Pastor Keith says about like, when you see a person who has excellence in their life, you're fearful of it.
Inspired or intimidated.
Yeah. Like you just got to choose which avenue you go.
Yeah.
Like, and I say that even sometimes seeing people, I'll never be there.
Yeah.
You know, like
for me, it's always like now, it wasn't always this way, but when I see somebody doing something that I can't do, haven't done, haven't accomplished, whatever, it shows me that it's possible. Mm-hmm. That's all the way I look at it.
Same 24 hours we got.
If I'm willing to sacrifice what they've sacrificed and put in the work that they've put in, I could do that too. Yeah. And then it's a matter of, do I care enough to sacrifice what they've sacrificed and put in the work that they've put in? And sometimes it's a no, and that's fine. No. Or they have this level of expertise here that's similar to the level of expertise I have here, which makes me feel better. Yeah. So it's just a way of not putting yourself down. But I mean, again, it's being able to, like, comparison can be a really healthy thing.
Sure. It can be fuel.
Yeah. If you know how to look at it and use it, you know what I mean? All right. We should probably wrap up here. It's an hour and 10 almost, but, always a great conversation, man. I think that in general, I love when you're on the podcast because I just love people being able to hear like candid thoughts, and you're somebody that I talk to enough and know so well that it is very just like a raw conversation, kind of not even really what we plan on talking about.
Very similar to our sometimes like I feel like we're talking and it's like we should just wear a mic or something like that.
Yeah. But it's stuff like that I hope it encourages people to listen to stuff like this, because that's why biographies are so powerful, is because you just listen to how people's minds work. It's why I love talking to people that inspire me, push me to be better. I can inspire, right? And it's just like this cycle of growth, you know? So these are my favorite kind of podcasts, but I'll put, Cody's been on multiple times. So go to the description. You'll see the different episodes we've done. We've done a few different really good topics. I'll put links to his stuff in the description as well. He's another, very similar. I mean, you even got the same name. He's just like a foot taller than me. And could fight people. So a little bit different, but very, very similar mindset to basically everything in life. So if you like my stuff, you like his, I'll put all that in the description. Thank you guys for listening to this podcast. Leave us a 5-star rating review. Share this with somebody who needs to hear it. This is a free podcast where I literally spend so much time and money and effort to just make people better. So if you know anybody who could use this to get better, please send it to them, because that's how we grow and that's how they improve their life as well. I appreciate you guys. We'll catch you next time.